Hey guys, welcome back to Base Station DB, your home of Beyblading in Derbyshire in the UK. So today's video is going to be another tournament review. Like last week, I'm going to be doing them weekly from now on. So if you are interested in this sort of content, please remember to subscribe, as it also just sort of lets me know that people actually care about this, I suppose. But with that being said, we will go on about the tournament a little bit before we go into it, and then I'll show you the deck build and we'll get into the tournament. So we were playing 5 rounds of Swiss and a top 4 cut at the end. We had 9 players, so each round one person did get a bye. So if you don't see somebody's name in one round, it's because they had to buy that round. But anyway, we'll jump straight into the deck build, and probably it probably looks a little bit familiar to last week in terms of the blade choice, but I promise the combos are different and it is a little bit more interesting than how things went with the deck build I used last week. So, yep, we're going to hop straight into the deck build now anyway, and then we'll get into the tournament. Okay, so as I just said, the blades will look familiar if you watched the last video, but hopefully you find the combos a little bit more interesting. So, starting off, we decided to run Silver Wolf again, but this time we had it on the 960 and we had it on ball. Then we have Wizard Rod on 160 Hexa. I wanted to try and make Wizard Rod into a sort of like more of a 2-point sort of winner than a 1-point sort of bay. Because obviously everybody knows that Wizard Rod on 960 ball does secure, like, you know, the last point that you need to win a lot of matches quite often. But I thought, you know what, let's try and see if we can make Wizard Rod, if anything, probably a little bit less consistent, but let's see if we can make Wizard Rod pick up more points than it usually does anyway. So the idea was to basically try and glance my opponents off into the pocket. That's why it's on a unbalanced ratchet and it's on Hexa to kind of keep it grounded. So yeah, that was Wizard Rod. Sorry for the bang there. And then the third blade, which is a bit more aggressive than the others, is Golem Rock on 360 Rush. I've been playing around with it for a little while, and to be honest, just before the tournament I was stuck between running this and a few other bays. So me and Trey had a few quick practice matches and Golem Rock picked up the most points out of all of them, but I was very unsure about the choice. As you'll probably see, it was probably my least performing bay on the day. But anyway, we'll go into the tournament now and I'll hand you over to me again, I suppose. Bye. Okay, so round one starts with Trey versus Daniel. Trey at the top of your screen and at the bottom. Daniel launches his Wizard Rod and Trey goes with his Aero Pegasus. Few heavy hits early on in the match. But as we all know, as a Wizard Rod match goes on, it always seems to favour the Wizard Rod, as Trey's Aero Pegasus looks like it's about to come to a stop there. So Dan, who's in his first tournament this week, takes the first point of the match. But just as quickly as he does take the point, Trey levels with a spin win. It was in a very aggressive battle in their second round. Before Trey pockets Dan's Phoenix Wing, but it manages to jump back out and save him losing 2 points there. After the reshuffle, they go with the Aero Pegasus and Phoenix. Trey's Aero Pegasus knocking that Phoenix into the pocket and securing him the win. Next match we have Jamie A versus Leslie. Jamie A won last week's tournament, so he's defending his title. and after a few massive X dashes there, he ejects himself from the stadium, and yeah, as quickly as Jamie took the lead, Leslie equalised before Extreme finishing him and taking the win. Heather versus Chris now. Hopefully this doesn't cause too many arguments at home. Chris out with the Silver Wolf there. Chris Chris likes to run everything on stock, by the way, so I've been trying to get him for a while to actually experiment with his combos, but I think he just likes the fact that us that are quite competitive don't see that from him. I think he likes the fact that we don't see Chris at his full potential. We'd like to see him do it though. Chris is 2-0 up now though against Heather here. And Chris launches the Wizard Rod. I'm not too sure what Heather's using there. I need to really make a note of what people's blades are for the sake of these videos, but as a note to self for future videos to come. I am very new to this, so I'm kind of learning on the job here, so hopefully I can bring better quality videos as time goes on. Chris though takes the third point there, and he only needs a point to seal it now before he bursts Heather there and takes the victory in the end. Now we have my first match versus Ty. I go with the Golden Rock. That launch was a bit poor, so I'm not expecting to do too well in this round here. It was heavily tilted. As I said, I feel like I got off to a bit of a slow start in this tournament, so hopefully it looks like a pick up from there on, but I do take the point in the end, barely. Although I had no faith in myself. Now Ty goes with his Phoenix and I go with my Wizard Rod, who tanks those hits early on and just dances around Phoenix for a moment there. But it looks like it's slowing down, and somehow Phoenix out-staminas the Wizard Rod. So it's 1-1 now, and now I go with my Silver Wolf. Who doesn't really have to do too much there to get me the point in the end. The contact was made, but Ty basically ejected himself into that pocket. On the reshuffle though, I go back out with Rod, and he goes out with Phoenix, who narrowly avoids the extreme zone, but I do get pocketed in the end, so it's now 3-3. I now go with my Silver Wolf again. He's getting knocked about pillar to post in this battle. Just trying to hold on, but that heavy tilt there looks like it might be the end there for me. But I don't have enough gas in the tank, and Ty takes home the victory. Going into round 2 though, we have Trey versus Chris now. Trey out with that Aero Pegasus again, looking menacing early on as it X dashes around the stadium. But as we all know, Rod seems to have the stamina, but it doesn't even need to in the end. It ends up getting the late extreme finish on Trey, and Chris only needs a point now to seal the victory, which he gets in lightning fashion in the next round. We now have Josh versus Leslie. Few X dashes between the pair of them there early on in a hyper aggressive battle here. But Leslie manages to outspin Josh there, so Leslie is 1 point up. Going into the second round now, and Josh ejects Leslie completely out of the stadium to take the lead going into the third blades here. And just like that, we have a heavy burst, and Josh takes home the victory. We now have Ty versus Daniel. Daniel with that Phoenix there. Ty using the Cobalt Dragoon, which manages to out-stamina the Phoenix, as you'd usually imagine in that sort of matchup. Going into the second blades here, and a quick over finish there for Ty gives him a 3-0 cushion going into the next round. Really aggressive start to this fight here. Ty just looking for that point here. Dan really needing to catch up in this battle. So he lands some heavy hits. Well, it looks like he's just about to run out of steam. Oh, my bad. That was Dan's blade. My bad. So yeah, Dan secures himself a point with the wizard rod then. On the reshuffle here, I think it's Rod versus Cobalt Dragoon here. Bit of a long-winded fight here, so we can speed this up a little bit.
I feel like I should lose. Not lose,
but Dan pulls it back to 3-2. That Rod picking him up 2 points. We all know how consistent Rod is. I believe he was running on 960 ball, but don't quote me on that. I think this is Dan's Phoenix on this match. And yeah, Dan ends up taking his victory in this round. We now have myself versus Jamie in the last match of the second round.
Good luck, have fun.
A little bit of sportsmanship between the pair of us there. But early pocket from that wizard rod, which, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to turn into a 2-point Beyblade. Does its job there, knocking his blade straight into the pocket. And Silver Wolf manages to eject his blade from the stadium, getting me the victory here. This is the third round now, I believe. Josh versus Chris. Heavy hit early on, and Josh manages to pocket Chris to take the 2 points.
3, 2, 1.
Second round here, and Chris has got a rod out. But with the looking at the footage, I think I looked back before we 100% called that. Yeah, Chris manages to get the extreme there, and now he's turned this match on its head. And he also gets the over finish there, and he takes home the victory in that round.
3, 2, 1.
I got Dan versus Leslie now, both of them with Phoenix out. As you can see here, I was trying to figure out whose was whose, but Leslie takes the 2 points only against Dan.
3, 2,
and just like that, Leslie decides to take the victory in a very quick round there. Leslie not messing around, taking no prisoners there. Now we've got Ty versus Heather. And as soon as the round starts, it ends, as Ty takes 2 points there with the burst. Second round here though, and another 2 points for Chris, as Heather just seems to glance straight into that pocket off of Ty. Takes a quick victory there in that round. We now have myself versus Trey at the end of round 3 here. I believe we've both got Silver Wolves out here, so it looks to be a bit of a stamina battle here. Well, you'd imagine so, at least anyway. But there's a few heavy hits going on between the two wolves here. But that huge heavy tilt there gives Trey the first point in the first round. Going into the second round now, I have Wizard Rod out against his Pegasus. as we both go around the rail a few times there. Then a big hit from Pegasus gives Trey a 2-point cushion now. Going into the third round here, I've got Golem out here, who manages to pull those 2 points back for me. So we're both even going into the reshuffle here.
Ladies, ready? 3, 2, 1.
And we've got Golem out against Silver Wolf. Sorry, my bad. Gets a few big hits in, and manages to outspin Wolf in the end. Which was quite surprising for me, but Rush does have a bit of stamina for an attack bit, so we'll give it that. And my Silver Wolf manages to pick me up the victory with the over finish. Now going into fourth round, Trey's back up again. Here's Jamie A here. And an unfortunate extreme finish there. Sees Trey go 3 points down to Jamie here. Aggressive start to the second round. But Trey manages to pull 2 points back here. 3-2 going into the third round. And Trey gets a quick extreme finish, winning his match in this round. We've now got Leslie versus Chris. Leslie won his round very quickly in the last round. Can he do it again? But we have a huge burst early on in the first round here, and Leslie goes on as he started in that last round. But Chris has the ever reliable Wizard Rod out here though to try and help him claw back a point or two here. And it just seems here to have that little bit extra stamina. And Chris gets the point. Third place here now. Leslie launching that Phoenix against Chris's Silver Wolf. That Silver Wolf moving around quite menacingly there. But Leslie manages to get the extreme finish and continues his hot streak in this tournament here. We've now got Ty versus Josh. And a quick pocket for Josh. Gives him a 2-point lead here.
3, 2.
Few big hits early on here, as both blades ride around the rail. But that heavy tilt seems to be doing Josh no favours there, as Ty takes the point there. Big hits early on again in this round. Both players very aggressive here, as Ty manages to flip this match on its head here, and he needs a point to secure this. Each of them go on as the started with the aggressive launches. Both of them going all out here.
It's 3-3 now. 3-3.
And Josh manages to make it 3-3, so the next point wins here. So
3, 2.
all either of them need is a spin finish, but I don't think either of them are going to go for that. It doesn't seem to be the pattern here for either of them. But Ty manages to get the pocket on Josh and takes the victory in this one. We now have myself versus Heather. I launched my Wizard Rod as she X-dashes around the stadium a few times. But Wizard Rod manages to absorb those hits there, as it manages to pick me up the point there. Second blades now, I go out there with my Silver Wolf, who gets a huge extreme dash and manages to burst Heather there. So it is now 3-0 to me. I just need a point to win the round now, and I'm relying on Golem Rock to do it, as it gets me a pocket and I win the match now. We're in the fifth and final round now before top cut. we've got Trey versus Heather. Heather's back up again straight after her last match. Trey missing a few X dashes there before finally making some contact. But he seems to have wasted all of his stamina there as Heather picks up the point in the first round. Going into the second round now. Impact Drake versus Silver Wolf, I think, here. And Heather manages to pocket Trey, making it 3-0 to Heather now. Trey must be feeling the pressure here. He's got it all to do now. But he quickly gets a quick pocket and pulls 2 points back now.
3, 2, 1.
And Trey going with the Pegasus, but to no prevail as it completely ejects from the stadium and Heather wins the match. That's, I think, the third time that the Blades have been completely ejected out of the stadium so far in this tournament. It seems to be a running theme. We have an even better one though in Top Cut, so stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss it. Ty versus Leslie here. As Ty just seems to be draining away the last of Leslie's stamina there. As Ty's Cobalt Dragoon takes the spin win there. Second round, and they're both out there swinging. But Ty manages to pocket Leslie, so he just needs a point to secure it now. And they're both out there with Phoenix Wing there. So as you can imagine, it was a nightmare for me to call this one. But Ty manages to clean sweep Leslie there and end his winning streak. We now have Josh versus Dan. I believe it's both of their first tournaments this week as well. I think it's Josh with his first one as far as I can recall. But he takes a quick extreme victory over Dan there. And he does it twice actually in the end, which is quite impressive. You don't see that every day. 2 extreme finishes, one straight after the other. As that was a quick round there. We now have myself versus Chris here. In my last round, I kind of need to win this one to make it to Top Cut, or at least to confirm that I've made it to Top Cut. And the same with Chris actually. I think it was both 3-1 at the time. But my Wizard Rod manages to outspin in the end, giving me the first point. Now Gollum rocks out against his Wizard Rod as we both dance around the stadium there. Gollum Rock trying its best to knock that Wizard Rod into the pocket, but to no prevail. And Chris pulls the point back there to level it up for us going into the third base. I believe we've both got Silver Wolf out there. So another likely spin finish, although both of them get a few big hits on each other there. Couldn't tell you whose bay is who right now, but one of the two of us is heavily tilted here. And it turns out it was Chris's, so it was 2-1 to me, and we're on the reshuffle here. Wizard Rod out. And it seems to be doing its job today that I built it for. It's not really lost out too much on the stamina, not running it on ball this week, so I've been quite pleased with Rod on 160 hexa as it picks me up the third point here, and I just need one more now. And I have my Silver Wolf out against his Wizard Rod now. As we look like we're heading towards another stamina finish for this one, but which one of the two of us has the most stamina? Silver Wolf can outspin Wizard Rod, but it's not known to happen all the time. And as we see there, Chris does manage to outspin me in the end with the rod. So yeah, pressure's on a little bit here. still need that point, and they've got to rely on Golem Rock. It's not really been doing the best in my opinion today, so a little bit nervous about this round. Just trying my best not to get pocketed, and hoping I can at least get around to the next bay, where one of my more stamina type builds can see it out. But Chris manages to level it up, so it's literally winner takes all in this next round. On the reshuffle here, so the decision is: do I go with Silver Wolf or do I go with the Wizard Rod on this one? And to be fair, I think Chris has the same decision. He's running the same here, just on the stock combos because Chris runs stock, as I mentioned before early on in the video. But yeah, next point wins. I go with my Rod, he goes with his Wolf. And as you can see, this one's a little bit of a bore fest, as you can imagine. But Chris lands a few heavy attacks late on in the match. But my Rod just manages to unstabilize him enough, and it looks like he manages to squeeze out the win there, Wizard Rod, so I'll take the win there. So going into top cut, we have Ty versus Leslie, before myself versus Josh. But here we go, it's to 7 points this time around, and Leslie goes out with his Phoenix Wing as Ty goes with his Cobalt Dragoon and gets an early pocket on Leslie. This is a rematch of the 5th round actually. Going into the second round here, a few heavy hits early on and some heavy tilting going on now, as we look like we're edging closer to a spin finish here, and Ty takes a 3-0 lead now against Leslie. And Ty makes the gap wider there with an extra over finish, so he now only needs 2 points to seal things. But Leslie can't have that without any reply, as he gets an over finish on Ty to make it 5-2. But unfortunately for young Leslie there, Ty gets the extreme finish and Ty progresses to the final. Now we're going to the other semi-final, myself versus Josh. I lead out with my Wizard Rod on 160 Hexa. But it takes a battering there as Josh takes the first point of the match. And now launch my Silver Wolf, who manages to launch his bay out of the stadium in the coolest way possible. I did mention earlier there was another stadium out that was pretty damn cool. I think you struggle to find many better than that one. Little unfortunate though for him, but he does manage to level it out in the 3rd round. So we go into the reshuffle here, and I go out with my Golem Rock again here. I think the idea is to just get it out of the way because I can still do with picking up some more points, but he does manage to get the extreme finish after underperforming all day. In the final it comes clutch, before Wizard Rod pockets his bay again, making it 7-2. Going into the final now, we have myself versus Ty, and I go out with my Silver Wolf early on, who's been pretty consistent most of the day. He's not won all of his battles, but he's done well, and he gets a pocket on Ty there, so I take the 2-0 lead here. We now have Wizard Rod, who's definitely been consistent today as usual, and has been consistently getting those pockets as well. So my idea of making it a 2-point bay instead of a really consistent 1-point bay seems to be coming to some kind of fruition here. We now have Golem Rock versus his Phoenix Wing, and he gets the extreme finish, which makes this now a little bit more interesting. So yeah, as you can imagine at this point I was sweating a little bit, but Silver Wolf gets another pocket, so I now just need a point, and I go with the trusty Wizard Rod, who does an out of character extreme dash there. But not out of character. It does manage to pocket his bay in the end as I take home the crown. And that just about wraps up our tournament for this week. I did manage to win the tournament in the end. Had a bit of a slow start, as you could see, but as the tournament went on, I just seemed to get stronger and stronger. A little bit of luck along the way, but you always need a little bit of luck with Beyblade. It's a super fun tournament anyway. I just want to shout out everybody that attended. Great tournament again. These guys are like the best guys in the world to hang with as well. Loveliest people. If you are interested though in getting involved, if you live in and around the Derbyshire area or near Derby City Centre, then our tournaments are at Manor Forge Games on Babington Lane in Derby City Centre. If you need any more details, you can give it a Google. It's pretty easy to find. But the tournaments start at 7 PM on Tuesdays. £3 entry. Yeah, and if anyone has any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll quite happily answer them. But yeah, if you enjoyed that, please subscribe. As I say, I'll be posting videos weekly from now on. I will also be trying to do some other content as well that will come out as kind of a bit of a bonus throughout the weeks as well as on top of the tournaments. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Bye bye.